All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Ask the Expert session. My name is Tamara. I'm the manager of Literature Academy, and I am super excited about all of you that are joining us this evening. First of all, you guys are clearly excited about tonight because I saw that there was 143 people just waiting in the room, waiting for 8 o'clock to come up. So you guys are doing an excellent job at getting ready.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Yeah, a little echo just came in. So I'm super excited about everyone that's coming in. I want to know who's new, who's brand new. I want to know if this is your first Ask the Expert session. You guys are pouring in this evening on time too. Love it. Hey, Alicia. Let's see. We got Georgia, Maryland, Connecticut. Hey, Tammy. That's also my nickname. My family calls me Tammy, Tam. Hey, Guy, I see you. All right, so it sounds like you guys can hear me perfectly, and let's get this session started. So tonight's Ask the Expert session is all about business financial basics. And the reason why we are focused on that is because, one, we know that everyone is in the process of either working on their side hustle or transitioning from a side hustle to a business. And then two, we also know that we always have people in here that have an entrepreneurial mindset, and we want to make sure that you are positioned correctly to do that. So we're bringing you no one better, which is our CFO, Shonta Thomas, who is the CFO for the Budgetnista and Literature Academy. So if you have a business or a side hustle, let me know. You guys are active tonight. I'm loving the comment thread. It is going. So if you have a business type business, if you have a side hustle type side hustle, I just want to get a feel of who we have in the room this evening. All right. Hi, Rosita. Okay. Okay, so we have a nice mixture of business and side hustle. And I'm seeing we have a lot of brand new people in here today. So that's awesome. All right, so I'm going to officially introduce Shonta. Shonta Thomas has carved out a niche for herself in the finance world. She has served as a CFO for a string of small business owners and powerhouses, including the Budgetnista and Literature Academy. Shonta serves as a financial mentor to work at home moms who provide tax and accounting services. So if that's you, this is your lady. And when she's not crunching any numbers, you'll find her enjoying time with her husband and 3 boys who we have the pleasure, as far as the Unicorn Squad, of knowing every now and then when we have these, our official meetings. So yes, Shonta, say hello so they can finally see you on the big screen.
Hi guys, hi everybody.
So it's really nice to have Shonta here. It's funny because we talk all the time. We speak weekly, almost daily, and it's funny to kind of have this more Ask the Expert kind of setup. And I'm telling you, she is going to get your whole life together during this session. So I just want to thank you all for being very engaging during this conversation. I see that there are a lot of people here who are who have side hustles and also have businesses. And then I also saw there are a few people that have both. So they have a business and then they also have side hustles, which is amazing because we want to also make sure that we have multiple streams of income. So we asked you guys to do some pre-work. In the email that you received today about today's lesson, you should have received a downloadable that asked you 3 to 4 questions. They were light, but it allowed you to start thinking so that you could be mentally prepared for tonight's session. So if you did that pre-work, please type me. I just want to see how like, where do we need to begin tonight? Hey, Jadalise, I see you. All right, perfect. So Shonta, take it away.
Okay, awesome. I am going to share my screen here. Let me say it's this one. This one, okay. Can you guys see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. All right, so tonight I'm going to be talking to you guys about business financial basics. Like Tamara, as Tamara said, my background is in accounting. Consider myself to be a tax strategist, which is basically someone who doesn't just do the tax return, but helps to really strategize when it comes to taxes, I help resolve tax debt, which is tax resolution. People owe $15,000 or more to the IRS. I help resolve those matters. And then I also do a lot of tax planning, which is helping people save thousands upon thousands of dollars every year in taxes. So tonight I'm going to be kind of talking to you guys about some of the basics in business finances. And generally when people talk about the basics of finance, and I'm going to expand my screen, but generally when people talk about the basics of finance, what they're really looking at are, they're really looking at the, like, what are the actual physical components? How do I structure my business? What's the best entity structure? What are the taxes look like? How do I do my bookkeeping? Those are the things that they look at. But tonight, I really want to lean in on an area that I think is not often talked about, but it's one of the most important and most critical components of having a business, which is the mental mindset. So we're going to cover quite a bit of that. And then we're going to go into some of the other basics as well. But I really want to focus on a lot of the mindset that is required if you're going to have a successful business. And the other thing, I'm going to be kind of talking to two groups: those who are just getting started with setting up a business, and those who have had a business for a little bit. So if I miss something in regards to your group as I'm going through, just stop me or ask me questions. And so I want to make sure I get all of the questions answered tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. All right, so this is the table of contents and what we're going to kind of cover tonight. The first thing is setting our goals, changing your mindset, choosing you, how you choose you first. What is the business setup? Managing your finances. Who's on your money team? How do you manage through the COVID-19 and the quarantine that's going on right now? And at the end, we're going to talk about some resources. So why do we set goals? And I would love to kind of hear you guys feedback on why it is that you personally set goals for yourself. I'll give you guys a second to answer. Tam, can you feed me the responses?
Yep, they are coming in. The screen is a little bit on a delay, but I know I do see one person saying that they have not started setting goals for their business yet, and that's why they are here today. So yes, you are in a perfect place. We have someone saying that they set goals so that they know where they're going. Liddy says, or lady, to stay focused. Blessed and highly favored, to hold herself accountable and follow through. Jen Clark says for motivation, to stay on track, clarity and hope. And the comments are coming in, and also to create structure. That's awesome. And it sets a blueprint for the business. Awesome. These are some great feedback.
Yeah, those are great answers, guys. We're going to go over why it is that we set goals and why it is important to set goals when you have a business. So goal setting, why do we set goals? So if you can think of yourself as being in a car and you're going on a long road trip. Let's say you're going to go visit your Aunt Betty in North Carolina. And on that road trip, if you have never been there before, this is a part of the country you've never driven to, it's a long trip, and you don't have GPS or Google Maps or anything, the likelihood that you can get to your aunt's destination without any outside input is slim. Setting your goal in your GPS or your Google Maps in a situation like that is going to help you get to that specific destination. When it comes to your business, if you don't set that proper destination, you're going to be unaware of the steps that are necessary to get to that destination. So that's why we have to set the goals. So as we go through, I'm going to ask you guys questions, but one of the things I also want to do is be able to give you guys feedback on how these sorts of things affected me as I started my business. So I started my business 2 years ago. And when I first started, I was just like, well, I know I'm starting a business because I need to make money. You know, I was a full-time stay-at-home mom. I had left my job so that I could be a mom because I felt like that was just where I needed to be at that time. But it put some financial strain on the family. And so my son, my youngest, had finally gone to school full-time. And I said, I'm ready to start a business, but I really didn't set goals. So I just felt like I was all over the place. when I began to set goals, say, okay, I need to make at least $1,500 a month. I could break that down into more manageable steps. And then as I was able to do that, I started setting bigger goals, longer goals. How much money do I need when I retire? Those types of things. And as I set those goals, that helped me back into what goals I need now in order to reach those goals in the future. So setting your goals and what steps I need to take now, right? So, and the steps can be an array of things, but for me, some of it was getting more education, getting more certificates, getting a mentor, joining a master class. So there was all sorts of things that I needed to do in order to reach my newly defined goals. So one of the things you want to do is make sure you take out time to set goals. What does that look like? If you say, I want to start a business, but I need to make at least $3,000 a month, which is what I generally hear from a lot of moms or women, is I need to make at least $3,000 a month in order to kind of cover everything. So if that's you, then you know, okay, that's my goal, is I have to do at least $3,000 a month. That's $36,000 in a year. So it really helps you to create steps. How many of the items do you need to sell? Or how much of your services do you need to sell? How many new clients do you have to get a month? It'll start answering those things for you. So I hope all of that makes sense. So one of the questions I want to ask you guys first, and I want everyone to answer this question, are what are your long-term goals? And the long-term goals that I want you to consider, what age do I want to retire? So list the number of years. Where do I want to retire? And how much do I need to retire? So those are the 3 things I want you guys to answer. And you guys can feel free to share. If anyone wants to share and type in like what your specific goals are, feel free to share those goals. Okay.
Okay, we have a few things coming through. I just want to pause there and allow them to share some of their long-term goals.
Okay.
So we have one dream builder here saying that she wants to retire at the age of 70 in New York City with $5 million in the bank. I love that.
I love that too.
We have Angel Nicole. Her long-term goal is to have financial freedom and time freedom. We have, I want to retire in 10 to 15 years. Shilpa, 25 years. So in 25 years, or let me know if you want to retire at 25 years old. You just never know who's in here. We might have a young person in here. Once again, in New York with $3 million. Kim said 70 years old in Nigeria with 1 million. Nice. And yeah, we have a lot of people kind of in the 55 to 70 range. And at least $1 million, I would say, is the lowest that I'm seeing here.
Okay, awesome. Now keep those, everyone, one thing I forgot to mention is make sure you guys have a pencil and a piece of paper and take notes as we go through. This question in particular, we're going to come back to in a few slides, and we're going to expound on it. So make sure you write down whatever your answers are. And I can also give you mine. Mine is, I want to retire at the age of 60, which is 22 years from now. Probably in the same area that I'm in, where I'm in New Jersey. Our taxes are incredibly high. So I plan, at least want to move to Delaware, which has lower property taxes. And I am hoping to have at least $4 million in my retirement. That's my retirement with my husband, everything, at least $4 million to live off of. All right. And then we also list some of the short-term goals. So like, how much money do I need to make in my business to be comfortable? How much money do I need to put into savings each month? So these are some of the short-term goals you guys want to think about too, but just make sure you have written down the answers to the first question, because we are definitely going to come back and visit that in a few slides. So change of mindset. Now that you have your goal in mind, what's next? And I think this is where a lot of people get stuck, like, okay, so what do I do? How do I get there, right? So many times what happens is, and excuse me if you guys see me kind of looking at more than one, I'm looking at more than one screen because I'm also checking out my notes on another screen. But one of the things that often happens is once we set goals, we start to doubt ourselves. we start to not believe in ourselves. I can't get to that goal. We come up with all types of reasons that we say that we can't get there. All types of things that we say to ourselves, right? Where will I find the time to build this business? People are going to say no to me, right? Fear is a huge one, especially amongst women. We don't want people to say no to us. That is a part of business. There are going to be people who just say no to you, and that's okay. But that's a huge one that stops people in their tracks. No one's going to pay that much for my product or my service. I don't know where I should begin. I can't make that much money working for myself. And the thing I want you guys to recognize is, that's just not true. There's so much that you can do in your business. But the first person that has to believe it is you. Nobody is going to believe it more than you're going to believe it for yourself. Nobody. So if you don't believe it, no one can buy into that dream or into that vision that you have. And so it's imperative that you take a step back and say, I can do this, and start dealing with the things that you're saying to yourself that may be negative as to why you can't do it, and look for solutions to where you're trying to go. But don't talk yourself out of it. Understand that, yes, you can do it. And also understand this, entrepreneurship is not necessarily for everybody. Some people find that they actually don't want to be entrepreneurs because it is a lot of work, but it certainly is something that all of us can do. We have to be willing to put in the work, and we have to be willing to believe in ourselves, because if we don't believe in ourselves, no one else is going to believe in us. They're not going to believe in our product, not going to believe in our service. We're going to talk ourselves right out of a business. So if that's you, we're going to talk about changing those things. How do we change those things so that we do believe in ourselves? Okay. So the first thing we're going to look at is what we call triggers. How do you identify your triggers? So when it comes to gaining control of your business, you already have these predetermined emotional reactions to how you feel about yourself, and that causes you to make like irrational decisions. So again, we tell ourselves no before we let others say no to us. So I'm going to say no to me. I'm going to say, no, that's not a good idea. I'm going to talk myself out of it before I let you come and talk me out of it. I'm going to talk myself out of it before I let you come and tell me, no, I can't do it. All right. So, but we're not going to do that. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. You have to believe in your product. You have to believe in your service. You have to tell yourself that you can do it, and what it takes to get there. You don't want to lose your integrity when you get there, though, right? So you have to believe that I'll do whatever it takes for me to get to where I'm going to. But when I say whatever it takes, understand that doesn't mean losing your integrity. I'm not going to lie to a client about a service. I'm not going to manipulate a service in order to get the client. I'm not going to do that. But if it means I got to invest in me, if it means I have to go get another degree, if it means I have to go get another certificate, if it means I have to go get a mentor, if it means I have to join a master class, I'm going to go do it. Because that's what I need to do in order to get to where I'm going, right? So it's a change in your mindset. How do you change your mindset? How do you start to believe in yourself? You got to believe in yourself first. There's no reason why every single one of us can't be successful. I don't care if all of us want to do the same type of business. There are millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of people in this country alone. I can't service all the people who need tax and accounting services. So if all of you want to do the same thing that I want to do, guess what? There's plenty of people that we can service, right? So nothing's going to be able to stop you from doing what you're trying to do. Going and learning, taking a master class, it's not going to stop you. Don't let yourself stop you. Okay, so we're gonna continue to talk about changing of our mindset. So on your journey of building my business, on my own personal journey, I have changed so many things about myself. If you want to play at a new level, you're gonna have to change as well. So what does that mean? When I first started, the first thing that I said, like I said, I didn't have goals. I had to learn what it meant to put goals in place. So then I started putting goals in place. Then I said, okay, I need to make at least 1,500. My husband was like, if you could just bring in 1,500, we'll be good. So I'm like, okay, I need to bring in 1,500. How am I bringing $1,500 a month? Okay, so let me figure this out. At the time I was doing a lot of bookkeeping clients, and I was doing bookkeeping and some tax prep. Tax prep clients, they could be $250, $300 each. A bookkeeping client could be $300, right? I needed 33 clients a month to hit 10,000. That became my secondary goal a month. And I was just like, I don't want 33 clients a month to do this. So one of the things I had to change, one of the things that taught me was, oh, what I really want is high value clients, low volume clients. So what does that mean? I began to service higher value clients. So they wanted services that were specific to their business. And so I had to figure out, what does that mean, right? So there were things I needed to learn in order to service those types of clients. There were classes, there were all types of things that I needed to do to service those types of clients. I wanted to play at a new level. I was willing to do the work at the new level. So you have to figure out, where are you trying to go to, right? When I was doing 1,500, it was easy to get, I only needed 5 clients, right? If it's $300 a month, I only need 5 clients. So the bookkeeping was fine, that worked. But as I wanted to make more and more and more, I realized I had to change the focus of my client. So a tax planning client, as opposed to a bookkeeping client, I would make $3,000 minimum to put a tax plan together. And then if I implemented the tax plan for the client, that was an additional $2,500. So instead of needing 33 clients, I now needed 2 clients a month to hit my goal.
I love that. And I wanna jump in there because this is juicy. Okay. You're dropping gems and we're trying to catch up because these are great. And I want to dig in a little bit because I know that there are a lot of people, especially those who are starting with a side hustle, and they're constantly chasing the hustle when they don't have to hustle that hard. So can you tell me a little bit about when you notice, like, oh, wow, I got to get 33 people. How quick did it take you to pivot and start putting those new steps into action so that you can get those high value clients?
Oh, that's a great question. So when I first started, I had joined a masterclass. That masterclass was expensive. It was $6,000 to join this masterclass. $6,000, right? Why did I join that masterclass? I already realized this has not been my first business. This has been my most successful business. Now, I've done real estate with my husband. That was successful, but it was successful because he was in it. He's just a mastermind when it comes to certain things. And so he made that successful, but I had never had my own successful business. One of the areas that I realized I was going wrong is I was not willing to invest in me. I wasn't trying to pay for a class. I was trying to get everything for free, everything. And so that was actually hindering me from growing because I wasn't getting the knowledge that I needed to grow. I didn't even know how to hit 1,500. So the first thing I did was I paid for this class. I joined the class. I spent 6 months learning material. I would implement as I was learning, but I just 6 months going through the material. Now I had other people who joined the class at the same time I did, who still have not gone through all the material. But I was dedicated to understanding what it was going to take for me to grow a business. And so I spent 6 months going through the materials. And then after that, I spent 6 months just implementing the tools and figuring out what it was that I really desired to do. So in total, it took me about a year. And then when I got to that year mark, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to do tax planning. I want to do tax resolution. This is really what I love to do. This is how much I can make in these different services. I went from making barely $1,500 a month to making $10,000 a month after 3 months, to making $20,000 2 months later from that, to making almost $30,000 like a month or two after that. A month. And so my initial goal was like, I want to be $1 million company. So I want to make like $100,000 a month. And then as I started seeing the work, I was like, whoa, hold up. My focus right now is being a mom and being a wife. That's the reason I left corporate. So I don't now want to get into a business that I'm so busy, it's taking me away from my family. So I began to limit, okay, what does success really look like? And how much do I really need to make to be comfortable? I don't have to make $100,000. That was just a goal, but I had to change what my goal was for now. So Tam, to answer your question, it took me a year to really figure it all out. And then, but once I figured it out, it only took a few months to like start, annihilating the initial goals and just soaring, so.
Yeah, I really wanted to jump in there because I think that is so important to share, that you have to invest in yourself. Sometimes it's, money wise, sometimes it's education wise, and sometimes it's time. But when you do it and you do the work, it'll come back just as quickly. And then you also have a village or a community, community of people to guide you through that. So that investment can look like education, it can look like mentorship, or even a community as far as programs and things of that nature that you're enrolling in. And I know sometimes there's masterminds and master classes and all kinds of courses out there. I don't want to take away from this presentation, but I know that I'm receiving a lot of comments about the courses and how do you know when it comes to your business, which courses or masterminds are worth investing in. What did you use when you were searching to validate those courses and say, yes, this is official and I'm going to invest in this particular course?
That's a really good question. So the thing that I looked for is because I was doing accounting and tax, I looked for someone who had done accounting and tax and was very successful in that type of business. So what worked for me was finding someone who was successful in the area that I was trying to be successful. Accounting and tax people are generally very type A people. They're not necessarily creative people. And so most of us are really good at what we do, but we're not really good when it comes to like marketing and things like that and sales. So what I really had to learn from him was a lot of this mindset stuff, but I also had to learn how to do the sales and things. So I would say if you're looking at a program, one of the things they absolutely must have in that program is something around sales, because you can learn how to do this kind of work, whatever it is that you're trying to do, all day long. But if they didn't teach you sales, you're just going to have knowledge and know where to pull new clients. And so at first you'll probably be able to reach out to people around you, but then after that, you're going to get stuck because you're not going to know how to get new clients. So it has to have some sort of marketing, sales, something components to the class. And it should be specific to what you're trying to do. The other thing is you want to make sure that person has been successful in what they're telling you to be successful in. So you need to validate that one way or another. And the way I validated it was the guy who had the program, he would put up posts of people who had joined the program and had done well. And so I would inbox them and I would just be like, how did you like the program? Because sometimes what you find is people don't like the program. When they joined it at first, they said something great. And the person took that quote and shared it. And then a couple months later, they're like, I hate this program. I spent all this money. I didn't make anything out of it. I didn't get anything out of the program. I didn't grow. My business didn't grow. It didn't teach me what I needed to know. And so now I had to pay for something else to learn how to do that. So, and especially when you're talking about spending that amount of money, I spent a lot of money on that course, So make sure it has that component too. Reach out to people, ask them, and see how they like the program. If you know anybody who's joined it, ask them as well and see how they like the program.
Awesome. So all of you have a clear goal, your long-term goal, and that, when you're focusing on your business, that exactly where you want to be with your business. And in order to get there, you may have to invest in programs, different services, hiring people on your money team to get there. So that's where that whole change of mindset is coming in, because sometimes, you think that you can handle it on your own, but you might need a little help. Yeah. And I think that's where it brings us, where it comes to the mindset traps. Sometimes the mindset piece is what's stopping you, and it just takes a little investing to do that pivot and keep going. So let's get back into change of mindset.
Awesome. Do you still see my screen okay?
You still see your screen. Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. All right. So for right now, guys, as new things come, as you start your business, or if you already have a business, as different things come, understand that there's going to be resistance. As much as I've learned, and I'm like, okay, every time there's some resistance, usually I'm about to grow. So resistance is good, right? Because you're stepping in. It's kind of like taking that journey, right? With the Google Maps, right? If we're in our car and we're trying to get to a journey, we got to set out our goal. Every time you're starting to say, okay, now I'm getting close, right? That GPS has to be more specified to where you're going as you get closer and closer and closer. It's really specific, right? Maybe you can follow the signs on the road if you're just trying to get to a specific state. But if you're trying to get to Aunt Betty's house, you need specific directions, right? So we need specific directions. So it's the same thing. As you get closer and closer and closer to certain new hurdles, you're going to feel resistance in you, because you're going to feel like, I've never done this before. It can make you nervous, it can make you afraid. But the thing that you have to understand is that it's okay. And you got to just embrace that resistance, because the person who got you here where you are today will not be the person who got you to where you're trying to go to. The person who got me to 1,500, I don't know where she at. She died somewhere, she's not the same person who has me at, 10,000 or 20 or 30,000, that's not the same person. The person who set out $1 million goal, she learned some things along the way and was just like, hold up, let me realize what it is that I'm willing to take on at this time in my life. Right. So you're going to constantly evolve, and you just got to be ready to embrace that. So you got to change with it. And again, when you get ready to play at a new level, you got to also, like they say, level up. You got to level up, because you have to become a new person. You got to shed a lot of things. You got to learn a lot of things. It's scary territory because you've never been there, right? And we feel like we have so much to lose. But if you don't take those steps, you're not going to get to where you're trying to get to. All right. And understand that that's normal to feel that resistance. It's a sign that you're on the right track. So that's good. If you're just feeling comfortable, like, oh, I'm good, you're going to stay right there. You're not going to be able to move higher. You're going to be comfortable wherever you are. And sometimes we're okay with that. Like I said, for me, I'm not trying to hit certain goals anymore, because I am where I want to be, which is with my family. And I don't want to be too busy. But that's my goal. What is your goal? And so you got to sit down and say, what does that look like for me? Okay. All right. So change of mindset. So we're going to start unraveling these mindset traps through an exercise that I like to call rewriting your source code. Rewriting your source code. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is write out the goal. If you didn't already do this in the previous slides, you're going to write out your goal that you identified before. So what age do I want to be when I retire? List the number of years. Where do you want to retire, and how much do you need to retire? So all of us should have that already written. Okay. Step two is now you're going to write out 2 reasons why you cannot accomplish the goal. 2 reasons why you cannot accomplish it. And I'm going to give an example. You guys feel free to put your examples in as well. So for me, my initial goal, if you guys remember, my initial goal was I just need to make $1,500 a month. $1,500 a month. And the 2 things that I felt like I could not do was, one, where was I going to get enough clients, 33 clients, to pay me $300 a month where was I going to get the number of clients? Even then, 5. I still didn't know 5 people who could do it, who could pay me so I could get $1,500 a month. So I didn't know where I was going to get sales from. Pretty much, I didn't know who. And the other thing, I felt like I didn't have the skills or the tools. I didn't feel like, even with the things I had done in my background, I didn't feel like I had enough knowledge. I didn't have the resources. I didn't know how. So for me, a lot of it was just a second guessing of myself. I didn't know what that was going to look like. So everyone just take a moment and write down, what do you say your 2 reasons why you cannot are?
you're shaking the room right now. A lot of people are like, whoa, I never thought to ask myself this. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah, you're opening some eyes over here. But we definitely want you to take a moment to really sit down and ask yourselves this. So please don't mind this moment of pause, because this is extremely important.
Yes.
And if anyone wants to share, we are more than happy to hear that. So please do just drop it in the comments when you do have the reasons why you can't. We'll see if we can use some of that as an example. All right, so we do have a few coming in. I just want to share them.
Okay.
A spoonful of soul, love that name. She said, one, because she doesn't have clients or not enough, or time, not enough time to focus.
Okay.
Oh, I see a lot of people saying they have a full-time job. So I guess that
Mhm.
also comes down to time. Lack of money and fear of failing. Mm.
Mm,
Ooh, that's powerful. Scared of maintaining success. That is scary.
that is, yeah.
And I'm gonna read one more. Leaving a high earning career. So basically taking that big leap.
Mhm.
So that's a few. We're hearing a lot of time, money, fear of failing, and the fear of success and maintaining it.
Okay. Those are really, really good. Those are really good. Now, I want you to use those same words as that outline why you cannot. Rewrite it and say why you can. Why is it that you can? Use the same words, rewrite it, and say why you can hit those goals now. And so in my case, the reasons that I could now do it were because, one, I got the help that I needed. So I started investing in myself. I got the mentors. I joined the class. I started really taking out the time to really, learn new things. I went after a new certificate. I did all these things mentally so that I felt like, okay, now I know how to do it. Now I knew how to do it. And then the other thing was I sat down and calculated and was like, okay, well, I have to do this many to get, I have to do, I need at least 5 people every month in order to hit this 1,500. Or I can just go do one tax plan, and I done more than doubled that $1,500 goal. So those are the two things for me.
All right, we do have a few responses coming in of the flip. We'll call it the flip mode. Let's see. We have, now that I'm finally putting into action what I put on paper, I will be able to realize my goals. Yes. I can hit my goals now by staying off of Facebook and replacing self-sabotage with the regain success mindset. I am in control of my time. And let's see what else I have. I can manage my time by delegating, and I can use resources like this to maintain. Yes. And I'm seeing people talking about just facing their fears. So feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Love that. And investing in myself so I can learn what I don't know. Yeah, because a lot of times the fear is the fear of not knowing. So go out there and get your learn on.
Yes. Yes. All of these were so good. So good. I'm so glad you guys are sharing where you are, because that's how we get to where we're trying to go, is by continuing to share where we are. I'm not sure what happened to my picture. I had a picture here. But give me 1 second. Okay. All right. I don't know what happened to my picture. That was
It's okay. We still love it as is.
Okay. All right, guys. It was a good picture. It was a picture. It was Beyonce saying we can do it. All right. But after doing that exercise, do you guys feel more empowered? Like, I feel like every time I do that exercise, I feel more empowered. I come back to this same exercise multiple times a year and I redo it. Because every time you level up, guess what? It's going to be new things saying why you cannot do it. And so you keep coming back to it and keep telling yourself why it is that you can. The problem we have is in our mind is that we are very negative towards things that we desire to accomplish. It can come from outside sources. It can come from our internal thoughts. People saying, no, you can't do that, or no, you can't hit that goal. But again, we have to tell ourselves that, yes, we can do this. We can do this. And trusting that you can do it. All right. So now I want to talk about choosing you. So now that we are like, okay, I know I can do this now, we're going to choose us. So when I say choose you, when you choose yourself, that means you're going to invest in yourself. You are your best investment. One of the hardest things I find for people is they won't invest in themselves. They will not invest in. It's very challenging a lot of times to get people to invest in themselves. But you got to invest in yourself. Join a masterclass, as in pay for the masterclass, right? There are certain things you're going to be able to get for free. There are other things that you're going to have to pay. It's going to be a paid resource. But I will tell you that class I told you guys I joined that was $6,000 within so many months, I got that money back multiple times over. In less than a year, I had that money back many times over. And it's just grown and grown. I still go back to that same resource. I have made that money back. I can't even tell you how many times. So pay for the class if you know it's a good class, because it's worth it. If you say, hey, I want to switch my services, if you're a service company and you're saying, okay, you know what? I initially went into this thinking I can sell whatever service for, a certain price, and you're saying, but this is my goal and I got to get there quick. And I need to have certain knowledge in order to service that type of client. Pay for a new certificate, a new degree, whatever it is that you need to get, another class, whatever training. In my world, they call it CE or CPE, is what accountants and tax professionals have to take. We take those classes so that we can learn new things every year. Pay for those types of classes. They're inexpensive, but you get so much knowledge, right? If there's a service you don't know how to do, like for me, one of the hardest things for me to do is anything around marketing. It is a challenge for me. And so because I'm weaker in that area, I'll generally just pay someone to do it. Why? Because time is my biggest resource. It's more valuable than anything else that I have. And I would find myself working on something that my sister is really good into, like marketing and websites and stuff like that. So I would be working on something for like 3 days, like 10 hours, 15 hours a day, trying to get something. It will be so simple. She would look at it and be like, oh, I got you. And a couple hours later, send it back to me. It was done. Better than I had even tried to do it, right? It was worth, if I pay, and I would try to pay her, try to pay her well. Even if I paid her $500, even $1,000, $1,000 to her, which it might have taken her 2 hours, right? I'm paying her for the service, not the time it took her. I'm paying her for the service, her skill level, right? It would have taken me 20, 30 hours or more. Is my time worth more than that 1,000? If I took that $1,000 divided by, the 30 hours or 50 hours or whatever it took me, is my time worth more than that? And yes, because I could also have gone and found a new client in that time and sold that one client and gotten $5,000 from that one client. But instead, I'm over here messing with this website. You see what I'm saying? So it's worth it to pay. If you're not really strong in the area, pay someone for it. If you're not good in administrative service, pay someone for it. It's worth it. Be okay with others telling you no. And this is one of the hardest things. When people tell you no, it's one of the, it's a punch to the gut, right? It's like you feel like they're rejecting you, right? But you got to separate that. They're saying no to the product or the service. There's a learning in that. Why are they saying no to the product or service? Maybe you have to repackage it a different way. Maybe you got to speak about it in a different way. Take each no and figure out how to better put together that product or that service so that you can turn the next possible no into a yes. Okay. And then also understand that some people are just going to say no, and it's okay. I always tell people I am very, 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 and I say extremely careful with who I work with. I'm very selective. And the reason I'm selective is there are people who really don't want to pay for service. They want free service, or they try to negotiate on price. Any people who try to negotiate on price with me, generally, I will stop working with you. Why? Because those people usually will take up the majority of my time and pay the least amount of money. They're just not ready, and that's okay. Some of my service offerings are high, they're expensive. So I look for certain clients. I generally will only work with clients who make a certain amount of money or more, right? Why? Because those are usually the clients who are ready. So you have to figure out those things, right? Be okay with others telling you no. Don't wait for family to tell you yes. A lot of times of us say, I'm gonna try to get my family and friends first. Those are usually the ones who are going to say no in the beginning. It's family and friends. A lot of times they're the ones that's going to say no in the beginning. And that's okay, right? That's okay. If they say no, you just have to keep going, right? And if you don't have the money right now to invest in yourself, find free services that you can use, right? Your Chamber of Commerce, the SBA, United Way, they a lot of times have services that help you with growing your business. They'll have different speakers and things, and they'll be really cheap or free, right? So look for services in those sorts of areas and see where you can get some of those things until you have the money to pay more for them. Okay, so just make sure that you're invested in yourself. Now, on your money team, who's on your money team? So your money team are basically going to be the people that are going to help your business to grow. All right. So you have to understand, in order to start and run a business, there's going to be a cost. There's always a cost. There are certainly going to be financial investments. Absolutely. If you have a business, I don't care what business it is, there's going to be a financial investment. But as time goes on, there are additional costs. Some will be time, some will be money. There are certain things you can do in the beginning on your own as you're learning, and there are certain things that you need to just pay someone else to do because it's just going to take too much time. Okay? Don't cut corners, because it always costs you more money in the end. It always costs you more money in the end. So I'm gonna give you guys an example. I had a client who came to me a couple of months ago. He is into real estate. He does military work, but he's also in real estate, him and his wife. And he was like, I'm paying a lot in taxes, and I've been looking for someone who can help me reduce my taxes. So we went over his taxes over the last few years, and I said, I see what we can do. I see where I can save you money on your taxes, but there's just one problem. Normally, where we can go back 3 or 4 years and clear up the old taxes and get that money back, we can't get it back in your case. And each year you have lost a minimum of $12,000 that you paid into the IRS. We cannot get that money back. $50,000 he has paid into the IRS. We cannot get the money back. The only thing we can do is implement something to go forward. So of course he was hurt. I was hurt for him. I wanted to help him. But at the time, the individuals he was using to do his tax prep, they didn't know how to do these types of things. And it wasn't important for him at that time to look into it. By the time he found me and he was asking me the question, he was ready, but that money is gone. So I always tell people it's worth it to spend the money up front. And I'll show you guys a little trick that I use when it comes to, no, thank you. I can tell you guys what kind of tricks I use when I first start my business to kind of keep costs low. But I'm telling you, certain areas, it's worth it to spend the money, okay? One of the first thing is your entity structure. So choosing an entity structure, that's your business. Are you gonna be an LLC, a sole proprietorship, an S Corp, a C Corp? They all have advantages and disadvantages to them, okay? And you really want to speak to an attorney first, okay? If you have a business, that's a small business, that's gonna take a loss year after year, and it's structured as an S Corp or a C Corp, you will almost 100% absolutely positively be audited. I've seen it time and time again, because you shouldn't be structured as an S Corp or a C Corp. And people don't know that. So that's why you want to speak to an attorney. It might cost you, $400 or $500 to talk to an attorney and figure out what's the best structure for your type of business right now. But then you know that you're in the right structure and you're not going to have any issues with the IRS or the state. So it's worth it to spend the money, okay? So getting to, well, if I have all these things I got to pay for and I'm just starting out, how do I afford these things? So that's what we're going to cover a little bit here. So like I said, the first thing you got to do is figure out the entity structure. Go ahead and pay an attorney to do that. It's probably gonna be somewhere around $400. So, but then after that, use that. So they're gonna set up your EIN and all that stuff. They're gonna tell you what's the best structure for you, set all that up for you. Once they set that up for you, then what you wanna do is open a bank account. Now you gotta open up a bank account separate from your personal account. You're gonna open up this business bank account using the EIN number that your attorneys set up for you from the business that you set up, okay? You want to take 30 to 40%. I probably say closer to 40% of the money that you make every month and leave it in an account. You don't touch it. That money will not only cover taxes at the end of the year, but it's also going to cover software, systems, other things you need to pay for. So if you have to pay for, well, I really don't know how to do this website, but I really need a website, and my homegirl says she can do it, she can give me a discount or whatever, or you can barter with people, say they can do it, but it's going to cost me like $400 or $500 or whatever the case is. That money will build up. Then use that money to pay for the other things you need. You'll have to prioritize and say, what things do I need now? What things can wait? But write down what you need immediately, what can wait, how much they cost, and then start using part of that money to go towards these other things you need. And the reason I say 30 to 40%, and 30 to 40% is a lot, is because unless you're hiring someone who specializes in like tax planning or something like that, you're not going to know where you can save money on your taxes. I mean, you're just not, for the average person. I've only found one person who didn't have a background in accounting or tax, that when I reviewed their taxes, and they had a side business. If you have a W-2, if that's all you have, it's very little you can do. But if you have a side business of some sort, I've only found one person who had done their taxes in such a way that I couldn't save them any money. Most people, when we go back and redo their taxes over 3 or 4 years, we get most people around $10,000 to $12,000 back. That's just the everyday average person with a small business, because there are certain things that you don't realize that are expenses for your business that you can write off for your business. People don't realize those things, and so they end up paying in too much. But if you're not at the place that you can hire a tax planner, which are much more expensive than like a tax preparer, then put the 30 or 40% aside. That way that everything's going to be covered. So we're going to talk about commingling. And commingling is when you combine your business and your personal assets together. You never want to do this. Never, never, never. It poses a problem because it removes that layer of protection granted when you sign up for certain entity structures. So when you get an LLC, that's the one most people hear, LLC and S Corp or C Corp. Basically what happens is, if you can envision an invisible line right here, that's what we call your risk protection, okay? That means your personal assets are on this side, Your business assets are on this side. The two don't mix. And as a result, if you were ever sued or if anything ever happened, no one can go after your personal assets. That's your home, your car, all that stuff. No one can go after it. However, if you start mingling, now that whole invisible veil drops, and they can now come after your personal and your business assets. There's no distinction between the two. So the whole reason that we set up these businesses is to protect ourselves for risk. Well, one of the reasons for risk protection. It completely removes that risk coverage. So you want it, that's what they call co-mingling. So you don't ever want to co-mingle your assets. So that's why you want to keep your personal separate from your business. Now, if you need to pay yourself and say, okay, well, all right, the money's going to my business, but then how do I get it to my personal? You can literally just transfer it. You can transfer every day. You can do a transfer if you want. It doesn't matter the frequency. It just needs to go into the business account and then transfer it out. Or if you have an expense for a business, let it go in the business. If there's something personal that you need to pay for, let it go. Let the money go in the business account and then transfer it to your personal account and then pay with it with your personal account. Or you can withdraw it, whatever works, but just don't pay for the personal items out of the business account. Okay, so one thing I did want to hit on is just because you do not commingle, there's never a guarantee that you could never be sued personally, because they have things like called negligence and things like that where you possibly could be, but it really lowers the possibility of that happening if you don't make sure you're not commingling. But you want to always be sure to separate the business and the personal. And if you have more than one business, you want to separate those. So if I have one, and I do, so this is my example. I have a real estate company that I manage with my husband. We've been in real estate for a long time. And then I have my accounting company, which is my company. Each one has to have a separate bank account. So I have a bank account for my real estate company, a bank account for my personal company. You have to treat them all separately. Now, one thing that I absolutely hate that I wanted to comment on, make sure I comment on tonight, is when people get into real estate, a lot of times the message that is going out today from a lot of attorneys, but also just from others in general, and I can't really tell you what to do from that perspective because I'm not an attorney. So I can't really give you legal advice. But the one thing I can tell you is if you put one rental property under every LLC, you now have to manage each individual business. Each has to have a separate bank account. Each has to have a separate EIN. Each one has to have separate bookkeeping. Each one, so it's all these things that you are trying to figure out for one business, you have to do for every single business. And it becomes very, very, very expensive. So I don't tell people to do that. I'll be like, I don't really agree with that. If your attorney is telling you that, then what you really need to find is what's called like a tax attorney, because they understand the tax implications as well. Or you need to bring your accountant and your attorney together so that when these decisions are made, each one knows what the other one is saying so that they can both consider, so you can consider all sides. Okay. So who's on your money team? Again, for your entity structure and your contracts, I suggest getting a lawyer. Legal Shield I like because you pay a small amount every month. They help you with your contracts. They'll help you with your entity structure, all that kind of stuff. There are some services that cost a little bit extra, but the reality is it's much cheaper than paying for an attorney, because contracts can easily be, $500-$600 per contract. So it's a way to save your money right now. The other thing I am saying that I think is really important is to have a bookkeeper. Now, your bookkeeper is the person who runs your numbers. A bookkeeper is very important. I think it's one of the areas where a lot of people don't put a lot of credence in and don't think like it's really important, but it is one of the most important things. They're going to tell you everything you need to know about your finances, your financial health. They're going to be the ones that tell you how much taxes you need to pay each quarter. They're going to tell you what your returns are going to look like at the end of the year. They're going to tell you everything you need to know about your business. And so if you don't have a really good bookkeeper, or if you're doing it yourself and you don't really know what you're doing, then everything else is going to be wrong. Your tax return at the end of the year is going to be wrong. because it's based on the bookkeeping. Tax planning, if you try to do that, it's going to be wrong because it's based on the bookkeeping. How much you need to send in each quarter is going to be wrong, your estimates, because it's all dependent upon the bookkeeping. So bookkeeping is everything. If you can't hire nothing else, find a good bookkeeper. I mean, it might cost you, some bookkeepers are as low as $100 a month. Now, $100 a month bookkeeper, you're going to get the very, very, very basics. They're basically just going to put your profit and loss statement together and send you that. That's going to be it. But that's a good place to start. Okay. But then there are other things that you can look at as well. Okay. As you go on, but the $100 now is fine. Then when it comes to tax pros, eventually you want to hire a tax preparer because they're going to, they might help you save money on the basic things. But as you get into a business, you just want to make sure your taxes are right. And the other thing is a tax planner. A tax planner will save you thousands. They are worth, in my opinion, worth their weight in gold. So the one client I was telling you about, it might have cost him $5,500, but we looked at his projections over 5 years. He was going to save $60,000. So his investment was $5,500, but he was going to save $60,000. So it's worth it, right? So that's how I look at it. Am I going to get my investment back? Year one, he would double his investment back. So year one, he would get so much money back that it would pay for the service, plus he would save additional money. I think we were saving like almost $13,000 year one.
Yes, I just want to pause there because this is so important. If you have not taken a screenshot of this screen, please do so. And then I want you to circle bookkeeper, because she said, if anything, if you're going to start with any of these three on your money team, you want to have a bookkeeper. And I think you said as little as $100 a month. Did I hear that? Come on, guys. That is something that we all can do to make sure that we are managing our business finances correctly. So please highlight this. And this is so good. What I'm going to do as she's speaking is make sure that we can get someone in each of these categories. She's obviously a tax pro, but we'll see if we can also get someone else to also do the bookkeeper and legal shield aspect to come back in and to speak to this so that you can get more information on that. But highlight, screenshot, and circle bookkeeper.
Thank you, Tam. Okay. So managing through the COVID, and we're almost done. So managing through the COVID right now, one of the things that you guys gotta, that you wanna recognize is when things come up, when you have a business, you're gonna always have things that come up. That's just part of running a business, right? So you gotta be able to shift quickly. And this is one of those times where, yeah, we absolutely need to shift quickly. For me, again, and I want to say this because right now there's been like different memes and stuff going around saying, you know, if you don't learn a new skill right now, basically you're slacking. Or if you don't start a new business right now, basically you're slacking. What are your priorities? If your priority right now is to just be a mom or whatever the case is and just love on your children right now, because we may never have another time like this. I have never known a time like this, you know, as ever. You know, our parents haven't known times like this where everything is shut down like this, right? And if you want to say, I want to lean into just loving on my family right now, that is okay. What are your priorities? That's okay, right? But if your focus is on, you know what, right now I want to start my business, or I already have a business, I want it to grow, then one of the first things you got to do is be able to shift quickly, okay? Because this is an unprecedented time. No one anticipated this happening. Nobody, right? If you need some services, if you have a business and your business is struggling right now, look for your local and state programs, because they have some of those. You can lean into some of the federal programs. They have the PPP, which is a loan forgiveness program. After 8 weeks, basically you get to write it off as long as you use it for payroll purposes. Community banks are processing those loans much easier than big banks. So if you have a community bank, that is golden. So even if you don't and you're looking for banks now, consider using a community bank, because one of the things that this time period has taught me is I need to go back to a community bank because they are more personable. They work with you better. They get to know you as a person. And guess what? When things like this roll out, they are like on your team. They are fighting for you. These community banks have been getting the loans through. These big banks, they have forgotten about the little person. So join some community banks. If you haven't already joined a bank by February 15th, you're not gonna be able to get the PPP through that bank generally. It's hard to find banks who will let you get the loan through them if you are not a current customer. But if you are looking for a bank, look at some community banks. The EIDL is a forgivable loan. They do have also a forgivable loan. It's $1,000. But then they also have another loan that you can apply for. It's 3.75%. They have certain regulations and stipulations, but it's through the SBA. You can find that on the SBA website. Then they also have something where if your business is struggling or if you've been impacted by the COVID, that you can take up to $100,000 out of your retirement and there's no tax penalty. Now, understand when it says there's no tax penalty, that doesn't mean that it's not going to be considered as income. So anytime you pull money out of your retirement account, it's considered income. You pull $20,000 out, it's considered $20,000 of additional income that you have to pay taxes on at the end of the year. It's not really new income. It was your income that you put in the savings, but that's treated differently than if that money had gone into your pocket. So what they do is they add that money back as if, because you're actually going to be using it. So you will still have to pay taxes on that additional money at the end of the year, but you don't get the penalty when you withdraw it. Okay, so that is helping some people. What they're doing, if they're in real estate, they're taking out so much money, they're flipping a property. They plan to flip a property, and then they're going to put the money back, and whatever's left, they're going to be able to use that money. So that's a very smart way to do it, right? Because it's also going to build expenses and things for you. It's a very smart way to do it. But there are different things that you can do. This is where your tax planner will come in. They'll be able to help you kind of look at what things you can do. And my two favorite things, real estate and stocks. I know nothing about stocks, but my husband knows a lot about stocks. So he's excited about the stock opportunities. I love real estate. I love real estate. He actually got me into real estate as well, but we do a lot in real estate. We have been doing it for as long as I've been doing accounting full time. I've been doing real estate for the last like 15 years. So I love real estate. There are projections right now saying that real estate values are going to drop 30 to 45% after this quarantine lifts. 30 to 45%. So imagine a house that's $100,000 that loses 30, let's say in a low end, 30%, right? Now the house is only worth 70. And say you go in, you fix it up, you do some stuff to it, you hold on to it for a few years, the market's going to eventually bounce back. So let's say you fix it up some, you put $20,000 into it, right? That'll take you to $90,000. That's still $10,000 in the original value of it, right? Because you bought it so low. But because you fixed it up and put some money into it, let's say that gives you $30 or $40 or $50,000, right? On the back end of the loan. So let's say when you get ready to sell it, it's worth $150,000. You just made $60,000 from purchasing that house and holding on to it for a few years. Number one. Number two, if you rented it out if you rented it out to somebody, you likely made $200 or $300 a month in addition. So you're talking about $3,600 a year you made on that property for every year you held it. And then on top of that, you're going to sell it and make another 60. I love real estate. And these are some of the reasons why I love real estate. My husband and I have made the most money in real estate, and it's big chunks. I mean, we sold a property one time, made $50,000 on the property after we held it for 3 years and made like $6,000 a year off of it. Real estate, as long as you know what you're doing. If you don't, again, join the master classes. But real estate, you can make a killing off of real estate. So yeah, but these are some of the things that are recommended right now. So that's pretty much the end of my presentation. Again, the resources that are outlined, check those out, the SBA website and things like that. If you already have a business, if you have a small business, you're trying to get started, the SBA is still a really good place to visit because they have a lot of professionals who have done it, who are now retired, and they invest in new businesses and they do so for free. So that's it. do we have any more questions?
Yes, we do. But thank you
Okay.
so much, Shonta. This
You're
was
welcome.
amazing. Actually, can you come out of share screen so we can see your
Oh,
face
yeah.
close and personal? We got you in a little box right now.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was amazing. I know a lot of people are leaving this session feeling very empowered, more knowledgeable, and excited about their future when it comes to their business. So you guys, for those of you who are fairly new, of course, we can't get to all of your questions. We had about 700 people joining us live tonight. So I pulled 5 questions that I thought everyone could benefit from. But if this is your first time, I want you to know that after this session, you can head over to the Facebook group, and we have like a little after party where there is a post that is related specifically to this lesson, and you can ask your questions there, and Shonta, she'll jump in. She's inside of the Facebook group. So you can definitely ask more questions there. But here are the 5 questions I wanted to share. 1, what if you were taking money from your personal account to fund your business account? Is that considered commingling?
That's a really good question. So no, so that's considered an investment. So you can invest into your business from yourself personally. You just want to keep it what we call clean. So you want to show that you've taken the money, you put it into your account. Your bookkeeper will be able to show it as an investment from that business into the account, and then you can use the money as you need it. And then if you want to give it back at some point, you can. You're not obligated to. It's just an investment, but yes, that's not considered commingling as long as you keep it clean. You don't want to do like, I invested 20, I took 20 out. You know what I mean? You want to try to keep it as clean as you can. But yeah, as long as you take that and you put it in, and then, like I said, you can pay yourself as frequently as you want. But no, that's not considered commingling if you invest into your business.
Okay, second question. If I have an LLC, do I need to create a paycheck for myself, or so I can have a W-2?
Oh, that's a good question. So no. So if you're an LLC, so one thing, let me prefix it by saying this. When you're an LLC, there are different LLCs, and there are different ways an LLC can be taxed. So you can be taxed, if you're the only person in the LLC, you'll be taxed as a sole proprietorship. So the only difference between that and a sole proprietorship is that you have the risk protection, but you're taxed like an individual person. So that goes on your regular 1040. If you have more than one person, that's considered some type of multi-member LLC. So in a case like that, again, so for the sole proprietorship, no, you do not need a W-2. If it's multiple members in the LLC, that's you have to do a different type of return, but again, you do not need a W-2. But if you are taxed as an S corp under the LLC, you do then need to pay yourself as a W-2. So it depends on how you're set up. In most cases, people are going to be at only one member LLC, or even maybe a 2-member LLC, but in neither one of those cases do you need to have a W-2.
Awesome. And I lost my sheets. Let me see. Hold up. I have my notes. Okay. Question number 3. How do you know how much a tax planner would save you to determine whether to hire them?
Oh, that's a good question. That's an excellent question. So tax planning services are different by person, but I can tell you how I do it. So what I generally do is I meet with the client. They bring their returns to the meeting. We review their returns in the meeting. They also send me a copy of those. I'll take a couple weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, review those, outline where we can save them money, and then I'll do a presentation. So we will literally look at what the old return was, and then look at what the new return will be, and you will see exactly how much money you will save. Generally, the cost is, like I said, most of mine start at $3,000. Most people save a minimum of 2.5 to 3 times that in year 1. So whoever you're working with should be able to show you exactly how much you will be saving implementing the tax strategies that they're recommending. If they don't show you that, I wouldn't work with them, because how do you know? I mean, you don't want to pay somebody $3,000 or $5,500 if they're implementing it too, and then they save you $4,000. I will be upset. So make sure that they are showing you. They should be able to show you exactly how much you save on a return, or at least in some type of template form or something.
Okay. That was a great question. Thank you so much for asking that. And two more questions. Do I need a business account for my side hustle?
If you have a side hustle that makes more than $400 in a given year, you have to pay taxes on it. Now, if you don't set up, was it a business? Do they need an entity structure, or did they say business account?
They didn't say. So I
Okay.
think, they're just they're asking if they need to set up a business account for their side hustle.
Okay. So if you have, that's a tough question. So if you have a side hustle that's set up as a business, absolutely. But if you have a side hustle that is not set up as a business, no, you don't. But understand the risk. So if you make more than $400, you are required to show that money on your return. So you have to show that extra money on your return. Number one, okay? If you don't have a entity structure in place, again, there's no risk protection. What's the likelihood of somebody suing you? Yeah, slim to none, right? People probably aren't going to sue you, but there's always the possibility. And so if you were sued, now they can take your personal assets. So, because really what happens if you don't set up an entity structure, you default to a sole proprietorship, which doesn't have any risk protection. So, the answer is technically no, you don't, because you don't have to set up an, technically no, you don't have to, and it'll default to a sole proprietorship, but you leave yourself open.
Good question, because I know a lot of us have side hustles, and it's something definitely, to consider.
Yes.
And I know I said I had two more, and I do, but it's funny because everyone is loving the course or the mastermind course, or I think it was a master class that you were speaking of. I'm not sure if that's open right now, if it's available. Is that something that people can enroll in now, the class that you invested in?
Yeah, so the class that I invested in, yeah, I think it's even more expensive now. I want to say last I heard was like $8,000.
Okay, we'll grab the link from you, and then we'll add it inside of this lesson. And we'll also add it to the Facebook group so you have the exact link to get there. But that's good to know that it is available.
Yeah, it is.
And the last question is, what kind of bank would you suggest for a business account? It seems like there was a little confusion around community banks versus, gosh, I don't know why I'm losing my train of thought. What's the other bank with,
like large banks?
No, like a credit union.
Oh. That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know if I've ever really thought about that. I don't know that it even really, I guess it depends on what you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to like build credit and things like that, I'd probably say use a credit union. But if you just need a bank account, you can use the community bank. I just use a community bank for myself personally. But you can really use either one. The whole purpose of the bank account is if you start taking credit cards and things like that, you're going to need an account to be able to send the money to. So I look at things like, what are the fees to set up this account? How much do I have to leave in there? When I was first starting out, I wanted something, I just paid the monthly fee, which is like $10 a month. I wasn't really earning any interest on it, but that was okay because I didn't know how much money I was going to make from month to month. And I didn't want to keep incurring costs or things like that. As I made more money, I got, higher and higher and higher, like different checking accounts set up. So it's not really so important like which kind of account you get. You just want to get an account of some sort to be able to pass your money through.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You were absolutely amazing. I feel empowered after this session. I saw that a lot of you were feeling the same. So I just want you to know, once again, Shonta is Team Literature Academy, Team The Budgetnista. She's with us all the time. So if you guys continue to ask your questions and kind of let us know where your pain points are, she will be more than happy to come back and dig into these lessons. You also have a Facebook group for accountants and other financial experts. Do you want to share that?
Oh yeah, so I actually just started. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. It's called Mothers in Tax. And so the whole premise of it is to help full-time stay-at-home moms who are saying they are ready to, they want to have a business. They have some background in business or something like that, but they want to turn it into a business so that they can start making money. And the lowest amount I say generally people will make is like $3,000 a month. So I can teach you how to make a minimum of 3,000. The upscale is whatever you want it to be, but how can we help and empower moms who stay home, you know, when their kids sleep? Okay, I got a few minutes to do this, or I got a few minutes to do that. How can we help them to make money in tax and accounting from home as a full-time mom? Because you know you don't have a lot of time when you're a stay-at-home mom. So, you know, how can we make that work for you? So that's what the group is all about. So we talk about everything from recipes and sharing resources and how to handle the kids and work-life balance and those types of things. So that's what the group is going to be all about.
Awesome. So you guys have all the information you need to be successful. Once again, feel free to contact us. You can respond to the email about tonight's session, or you can also go to the Facebook group. As soon as we start seeing a trend of what you guys need, we'll go ahead and create a lesson or an Ask the Expert session around that. So keep sharing. And once again, if this is your first time, we always go to the Facebook group afterwards. You will see a post. It's like, it says links and resources. It has books, and it will be specific. It's focused on tonight's lesson. So you can ask your questions there. There will also be the link to the replay. The replay is going to be available immediately after we disconnect. So you can go ahead and rewatch this at any time for as long as you are a member of the Academy. So there's no rush. And we just hope that you all take it easy, be safe, take care, soak in all the information, and we'll see you next Sunday. Thank you, Shonta.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye, guys.